Okay, everyone. This is the video I plan on embedding to my Google Sites. It's going to be about proportions, and it's probably going to be the subject I talk about in my lesson plan for this class as well. I think I might only have time to do one of these problems. I've tried doing the whole thing before. The recording cut off short, so I'm going to try to be pretty quick with it and just cover one of these problems. And maybe I'll have enough time to show you two methods on how to solve these problems. Um, we're going to start off with number two here, since I've already tried it on my own. And before we can get started with problems like this, it's important to know what kind of jargon we need to know when approaching these problems. And let me show you what I mean. We have a template that we could use that'll help us find out what 4 is what percent of 16. That's the question. 4 is what percent of 16? We have a template that could help us with that. That template is a percent out of 100 or divided by 100 is equivalent to or equal to the word or the word parts divided by the word whole. And me personally, I don't think that's too intuitive to think about. So here's another one that I'll show you. A percent out of 100 is equivalent to the word is and of. And I think that makes a little more sense to me. And here's how. We have the question, 4 is what percent of 16? Let's think about the word and let's think about writing sentences really quick. Let's say I have the sentence, Mark is tired of Sally. Well, what is the word is referring to? I would argue the word is referring to Mark. And what about the word of? I would say of is referring to the word Sally. Mark is tired of Sally. So whenever you see the word is, it'll be the word before it or previous to it. Whenever you see the word of, it'll be referring to the word after it. Similarly, we have question number 2. 4 is what percent of 16? Is refers to the word before it. Of refers to the word after it. In this case, it's numbers, but I'm trying to make a point here saying that when you see the word is, it refers to the word before it. When you see the word of, it refers to the number word after it. Knowing that, that'll give us enough information on how to solve a problem like this. And let's do it. Percent out of 100. Do we know what the percent is in this case? We don't. Our percent here is blank. And whenever we don't know something, we want to use a variable. In this case, I'm going to use an x to show my unknown. And I'm going to make that out of 100 because percentages are always out of 100. And I'm going to say that's equivalent to the fraction 4 out of 16. Now, how did I know to put 4 out of 16 instead of 16 out of 4? Well, that's again going back to this example that we have here. Is refers to the word or number before it. So I put 4. 4 is before is. So I put it on the top. Of refers to the word or number after it. Well, of is before 16. So 16 follows after of out on the bottom, just like how I have it written here. Next, what I'm going to do is use a method called the butterfly method here. Butterfly method is called the butterfly method because it looks like a butterfly. Look at that. And whenever we use the butterfly method, the operation that's occurring is multiplication. So 100 is being multiplied by 4 and x is being multiplied by 16. Another way to write multiplication is using a dot. And I think that'll be useful here since I don't want to have two x's, like 16 times x. Seeing it as 16x, that'll be kind of weird. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it as a dot. What is 16 times x? Can I figure out what that is? I can't because x is an unknown. Therefore, I'm going to make it a little more simple to write. Instead of always having to write this whole thing, I'm just going to write it like this. You can see that my line is a little shorter and it's a lot more faster to write. So I'm going to write it like that. We also have, so I'm going to put an and, We also have 100 times 4. What is 100 times 4? Well, any number times 0 is going to be 0, and 1 times 4 is 400. Well, look at that. 100 times 4 is 400. And don't forget, we have an equal sign here. So let's put them together, shall we? We have 16x equals 400. And I want to isolate, meaning I want to get x by itself. In order to get x by itself, I need to get rid of this 16 here. This 16 relationship, I need to find out what the relationship is. I said earlier that 16 and x are being multiplied. And in order to undo multiplication, I had to do division. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to divide by 16. Notice I do 16. I divide by 16, not x, because I want to isolate x, and I want to keep my x on the left-hand side. That's just a personal preference. You don't have to do it that way, but I will. And we have an equal sign. And whenever we have an equal sign, we have to keep it balanced, right? So because I divided my left-hand side here by 16, I also need to keep it balanced by doing it on the other side too. So let's do that. 16 over 16 equals 1. Similar to how 1 over 1 equals 1. And 2 over 2 equals 1. 16 over 16 will be 1. And 1 times anything will be the number that it's multiplying with. For example, 1 times 12 equals 12. Therefore, 1 times x will equal x. So when I have 1x equals 400 divided by 16, I technically have x equals 400 divided by 16. What is 400 divided by 16? It's going to end up being let's find out. 16 can't go into 4, but it can go into 40. 16 times 2 gives 26. No, 32. So we'll subtract by 32. And that leaves me with 8. 40 minus 32 is 8. I'm going to drop my 0. And how many times does 16 go into 80? Let me find out really quick. 5 times. 16 goes into 80 5 times. So my overall number is 25. X is 25. But what is X referring to? Let's go back up. Number 2 is asking the question, 4 is what percent of 16? So we'll say 4 is 25% of 16. And that's how you'd approach a problem like this. That would be our answer. Another way you can do this problem, very quickly, I'll show you. Remember we had 4 over 16 is equal to x over 100. I can think about what number would I need to multiply 16 by to get 100. And seeing as 16 times 5 is going to be 80, we're not going to be able to perfectly fit 16 into 100. So what we can do instead is simplify our fraction, and hopefully we simplify it to a number that can go into 100 perfectly. 4 and 16 have one number in common, 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And I have this new fraction, 1/4. 1/4 is equal to x over 100, because you can simplify 4 over 16 into 1 over 4. And now let's ask the same question I asked before. Could 16 go into 100? No, not perfectly. So let's ask ourselves, can 4 go into 100? It can. What number would I need to multiply 4 by to get 100? 25, no? 25 times 4 would give me 100. And since I multiplied my denominator by 25, I also need to multiply my numerator by 25. And that would give me the same answer we got earlier. X is equal to 25. X is equal to 25. 4 is 25% of 16. That's it, guys. I wish I can do more problems with you, but Zoom is pretty picky, I guess, nowadays with how much time you have to record. And we're probably about out of time. So that's it. Thank you.